Hello, my name is Garvin, and I read things and rattle about them on the internet for your entertainment. So today we're going back to looking at lost mythical lands, which started a couple years ago when I did a long video series on Atlantis. And for various reasons, I did some one-shot self-contained videos on a number of other lost mythical lands. Among them was Lemuria, but it wasn't a deep dive. We didn't go into a lot of detail, and I've always wanted to go back and kind of expand on that. So that's what we're going to do today. But wow, where do we even start?
Back to the beginning.
Good advice. Okay, the beginning for Lemuria lays with one man, Philip Lutley Sclater. So let's start with him. He was born in the country house of his father outside the village of Wootton St. Lawrence in the United Kingdom on November 4th, 1829. As you can guess from the fact that his father owned a country house, his family, they were doing all right. In fact, Philip's older brother would go into politics and end up a baron. That's how all right that family was doing. Philip did not go into politics like his brother, though. He was into more honest work. He was into science. Specifically, Philip Sclater was into birds. For those of you wondering about Lemuria,
we get there when we get there!
Back to Philip, though. At 13, he would go to Winchester College and then be admitted to Corpus Christi College, Oxford, where he would study ornithology, the scientific study of birds. And he would also study law, becoming a lawyer and a zoologist. So, what can I say? He must have really liked studying, right? In 1856, he would travel to America and visit Lake Superior, spending a month after that at the Academy of Natural Sciences at Philadelphia. He would then return to the United Kingdom, where he split his time between practicing law, attending zoology meetings, and publishing papers on bird species. This was a busy man. 1858 was the year he really got into gear, though, and he started by publishing a paper where he divided the world into 6 zoological regions that he named the Paleoarctic, the Ethiopian, the Indian, Australasian, Nearctic, and Neotropical regions. 2 more regions would be added by others in 1872, but otherwise, this same map is used today in zoology. And just to explain the concept a little bit, he said these regions were large areas of the Earth's surface in which plants and animals could evolve in relative isolation from the other 5 areas. And this would happen over long periods of time because they were separated by geographic features like oceans, large deserts, really high mountain ranges. These features prevented migration, or at the very least presented a significant barrier to migration. And because these populations weren't migrating into the other areas, there was little to no genetic exchange, and that caused, say, for example, the deer in South America to go in different directions than deer in Asia. And this proved to be a very useful concept in zoology. Now, this same year, 1858, he helps found the British Ornithology Union, which is still going today, and is considered one of the oldest organizations for the promotion of the scientific study of birds. The next year, in 1859, he would become the secretary of the Zoological Society and a founding co-editor for the BOU's magazine, The Ibis. He would serve as secretary for 43 years and would later donate his collection of over 9,000 preserved birds to the British Museum of Natural History. Just in case that's not enough, he has other accomplishments, such as being the first Western scientist to describe an okapi. I say first Western scientist because the people who lived there knew damn well what it looked like. He would also write altogether about 1,500 scientific papers And there are 11 animals named after him. Most of them, fittingly enough, are birds. What I'm trying to get across here with all this information is this guy was not a fringe scientist. He was not out on the edge doing pseudoscience. He was not someone prone to mysticism or trying to twist things around for ideology. He was a respected and accomplished figure in zoology in his time, and a lot of his work is still respected and used today. That's not why we're here, though. We're here because he started studying lemurs, and that led to him having a problem. As he peered deeper into lemur evolutionary history, he noticed something troubling. You see, he had fossils of lemurs in India and Madagascar, but there were none in the Middle East or in large parts of Africa. Although there are primate species related to lemurs still living on mainland Africa, the distribution wasn't enough to explain how lemurs got from one place to another, in his opinion. On top of that, he had modern primate species such as the Asian loris and the Indonesian tarsiers, which seem to be more closely related to lemurs than other local modern primates. But there's nothing in the fossil record showing how these ancestral species that connect all of them got into these widely separated habitats. While the Indian Ocean isn't as wide as the Pacific, it is still a pretty damn big body of water, so it was very unlikely that any ancestral primate species to lemurs, loris, and tarsiers swam the whole ocean to Indonesia, India, and Madagascar. So now you see his problem. This was further complicated by the not entirely complete understanding of geology in the 1800s. We had no idea at the time that continental drift and plate tectonics were even a thing. In fact, it was widely believed that the continents were completely unmoving and stationary. So, in 1864, Philip Sclater came up with a solution and wrote about it in an article called Mammals of Madagascar in the Quarterly Journal of Science. His solution was a land bridge that linked India, Madagascar, and Australia. Now, this solution wasn't without precedent. The Bering Land Bridge had been advanced as a explanation for how people and other mammals got to the Americas from Asia, and since the late 1700s, it was widely accepted that a land bridge had linked Australia to Tasmania in the past. So, for everyone, this seemed a perfectly reasonable explanation. And it was fairly accepted for some time in science as a reasonable, if unproven, theory. So no one put a lot of weight on it, but everyone thought, this idea could make a certain amount of sense. Today, it's widely considered debunked by our understanding of plate tectonics, and the fact that we're fairly sure that India, Africa, and Madagascar were linked in a single supercontinent in the distant past before they split apart. There's also no evidence that we can find on the ocean floor that such a land bridge ever existed. But let's keep in mind that continental drift and plate tectonics were heavily and hotly contested until seismic imaging technology in the 1960s provided fairly conclusive evidence. So our own understanding is honestly still fairly new. As you can guess, though, Philip would not live to see the rise of continental drift. Although he did live a pretty long life. He would marry, father 6 children, and live a rather happy and successful life until dying of a carriage accident in 1913 at the ripe old age of 83. we should all be so lucky. Honestly, though, I don't think he would be that upset that his theory about Lemuria was proven wrong. He advanced it because it seemed the simplest answer to a problem, and unlike people we're going to discuss in upcoming videos, he never really seemed all that attached to it. His study of birds was honestly a much more pressing concern for him, and his formation of the 6 zoological regions had a much bigger and more lasting impact in science. So, I do find something ironic that his biggest impact in popular culture isn't his enduring scientific work, but a theory he suggested because, in all honesty, it didn't seem like anyone else had a better idea at the time. I also bring this up because I think it's important to remember how much younger the idea of Lemuria is compared to the stories of Atlantis, Hyperborea, or Shambhala. Even the mythical city of El Dorado is 300 years older, with its first mention being recorded in the 1500s. Which is going to explain why some of these mythic lost lands have a deeper and wider impact on popular culture. That said, Lemuria has an idea and has a story, was going to go places, and it was going to have an impact. Part of that was because other scientists were going to pick up this theory and try to link it to human evolution, which is a still hotly debated topic that provokes a lot of passion from some people. And it's also going to get wrapped up in various belief systems and ideas and ideologies, some of them rather mystical in character, but we are going to cover those in their own videos in the future. So I think that's a good place to stop this week. I hope you found this video informative, or at least entertaining. If you did, please leave a like, or comment, or consider subscribing. All these help me in my eternal struggle against the dread Lord algorithm. Terror be on his name. If you'd like a voice on future video subjects, consider joining up with my Everwise patrons for as little as $1 a month. There's a link below in the description, along with a link to my Ko-fi site if you just like to leave a one-time donation. If you do, please feel free to leave a message with your donation on whatever topics you'd like to see in the future. While I'm speaking of patrons, let me give a special thanks to my biggest supporter, Big Steve. I hope you enjoyed this video, man. Next week, we look at a German scientist and artist who looks at the theory of Lemuria and thinks he's found home. Literally. I hope you join me, but until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and of course, keep reading.